Hey guys, it's King Shaka here, back again with another video, and today we're going to be looking at why The Last Guardian is so popular. Let's go ahead and get started. Our story begins with our nameless protagonist, who for the purposes of this video will be called Nemo, which means nobody in Latin. As soon as the game begins, we know that we are playing from a flashback, as the narrator is the older version of the character that we are playing. When we wake up, we see we are imprisoned in a sense with an animal called Terrico. Not Trico, like the stupid Pokemon, that's my favorite Pokemon in Gen 3, but Terrico. As well as finding he has some sick new tattoos that he did not have before. So obviously he was passed out drunk and got some tattoos all over his body. And yeah. After removing the spears lodged in Terrico's body and finding a magic mirror shield that allows the Terrico to discharge lightning from his tail, which looks goofy as hell in the video game, for some explained reason, is set off when he beams the light towards any object in the lightning discharges. Anywho, they disembark on their adventure. And they find out they're in some labyrinth-like castle, and as they adventure through this big-ass castle, they develop a bond. A bond similar to a dog and cat or Pokemon and Ash Ketchum. As they travel, they realize that there's a dark force that is actually controlling Terrico, as well as the guards and other Terrico-like creatures in this castle. Now you face these guards who will try to throw you, imprison you, and control you. Same with Terrico, which is why the two horns on Terrico's heads, as well as on the guards, resonate when the force is trying to take over. But at the end of your adventure, you end up destroying the I call it the dark side of the force, that is controlling all the creatures and the guardians. Now you are being attacked by these creatures, but once it's destroyed, they actually plummet to the ground. As well as our Terrico luckily rescues us and flies us back to the village that he had originally captured us. That's the only way I could have known that he knew where to go, is because he or she was the one that captured us and brought us into the hellhole that is this land that is not named. Unfortunately though, we are badly injured and cannot explain ourselves to the villagers and send Terrico away so no further harm is done to our bird, cat, monkey, dog thing. The game now skips several years later, where our protagonist Nemo is now an old man, and the villagers dug up the old mirror shield, the same one we used to destroy the dark force. And we shoot the mirror, use the mirror to shoot a beam of light into the sky, where then the game cuts to a dark room, but we see the eyes of Terrico, and then we see a smaller eyes of Terrico, and then the game ends. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the gameplay of The Last Guardian. I would say this is the weakest part of the game itself. Holy crap, is this gameplay, the controls and the camera are very frustrating in this game. I didn't think in the PS4 era we would still receive games with very frustrating and archaic controls. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, The Last Guardian has been in development for at least 10 years. Could be wrong with that, but most likely it has been 10 years. This game was originally supposed to be released on the previous generation, the PS3, back in, I think the latest it was supposed to release was 2009, but due to change in technology and setbacks and all that stuff, this game wasn't released until this year, December 6th. When originally it was supposed to be released back in the PS3 era. And of course it's still supposed to be a Sony exclusive. However, being delayed that much, I expected them to reevaluate their control scheme and make sure it reflects that of the PS4 era, which is very smooth controls. Even with depending on the game, the controls should be smoother than what we are presented with in The Last Guardian. And it just seems very PS2 almost. I won't go as far as say it's PS1 controls, but it's definitely early PS2. And the controls are just it's terrible. I would have to say the controls are pretty bad. The camera is pretty bad. How the game resets the camera, it'll like black out and then reset itself, and I feel like that's just not good enough. But this is definitely the weakest point of the game. But we'll go ahead and talk about the overall visuals of the game. All right, now talking about the visuals and music about this game. Visually, it's unparalleled. This game looks absolutely amazing. I do have some gripe. I don't know if I had to just adjust my settings where some areas were a little too dark and you really was like, wow, I'm in a dark area, but I feel like there was a lot of detail missing. Or when you first go outside, it's like super bright, even it gets down, but it's still very bright. So there are still some details missing there. I don't know if it's just a change in settings would fix that. But overall, this game looks amazing at all points of the game. Now, I do like the small details that try to tie the games to the previous two games, which were Shadow of Colossus and Ico. And that is, if the small details such as the birds are very similar to that in Shadow of Colossus, as well as the lizards. Now these lizards are very specific because they are only seen in Shadow of Colossus, which made me think that we're definitely in the same land as Shadow of Colossus. We always thought, oh man, this land is cursed and all that stuff, but then we realized, from Shadow of Colossus, they build civilization. Same thing with Ico, that was continuing on. So I feel like this is later on within the timeline that we got some more Shadow of Colossus type deal. But overall, amazing looking game. Definitely want to say one of the best games that look amazing within the year 2016. So let's go ahead and move on to my final thoughts. Alright guys, so my final thoughts on The Last Guardian. Was it hyped up too much? Kinda. It follows the same pattern where you really don't understand what the hell the story is. You kind of just figure out the story as you play the game. That's been apparent with Shadow of Colossus and Ico. But this game, even though it's supposed to be within the same world as Ico and Shadow of Colossus, there's very few similarities between all three games. Now Ico and Shadow of Colossus obviously has a lot of similarities as they are directly connected, but it's really hard to connect The Last Guardian with the previous two games, as well as the name of the game itself, The Last Guardian. Ico obviously involved the main character Ico. Shadow of Colossus, obviously you're fighting a bunch of colossi. The Last Guardian, it's kind of just like, what are we protecting against? I mean, I guess the Last Guardian would be we destroyed the Dark Force, so he was the last person to do it. It's kind of hard to relate the game, but is this a game you should buy? I would say at full-heartedly, I would not pay full money for this. Now I already bought the game and played it, but if you're thinking on the edge of whether to play it or not, it's kind of up to you to decide. Do you want to spend the full $60? I wouldn't recommend it, just because the controls are really game breaking. Well, not really game breaking, but it's like you're used to playing very fluid controls on the PS4, and then you play The Last Guardian and the controls, it'll be blatant or shit. They're pretty flipping bad. The puzzles aren't that difficult, but the game controls itself makes the puzzles difficult, if that makes sense. And a simple task turns very monotonous, and it can get very annoying just playing through the game. And it's it looks great, the music's awesome. I wish there was more music in the game itself. There's kind of periods where you just have nature and no music. I can't, but when something happens, there is music. An action event. You're fighting guardians. There's a fight scene, Which honestly, at certain points, the Guardian fight scenes kind of just got meh. It's kind of like, why are you here? So that's my thoughts on the game. I would recommend buying the game. I would definitely recommend to anyone, just not at full price, not the full $60. Thank goodness there's not no stupid deluxe edition, or my internet guy would come out. But Last Guardian is definitely a buy, but not a must. Definitely not worth the full $60 in my opinion because of controls. And the story was great. You know, it was just like very Child Crossing Ico Eyes, where the story's not explained to you, but you figure it out for yourself. But definitely worth picking up the previous two games, Ico and Shadow of Colossus, if you were wondering what the hell those games are about. I'll have a link in the description down below about those games. But tell me what your thoughts are on The Last Guardian. Did you enjoy it? Do you not like it? What's some things really irked you about The Last Guardian? Leave it in the comments section down below. And then if you liked this video, please hit the thumbs up button. It really helps me. And also, if you enjoy content like this, please hit the subscribe button. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
We about to turn it on.